It's just a very dense lecture trying to explain what, why, how, and who should get this drug. That's the title again, right? So, first thing is the drug. The initial name for Rova-T was SC16LD6.5. S616 is a monoclonal antibody against the DLL3. L is the linker. D6.5 is the drug. SC16, the monoclonal antibody, is bound to the linker via maleimide conjugation. As cysteine, they have the PEG spacer. This is a cleavable linker, so there is cathepsin B cleaves the antibody between valine and alanine, and that releases the PBD dimer with the self-immolating or self-hydrolyzing moiety. So the PBD dimer is released by itself to make its action. The drug antibody ratio is 2, means that the average 2 molecules of drug for each antibody. So to have a good medicine, you have to have a good drug. So this is the payload. The payload is a PBD dimer. The PBDs are those 3 ring molecules that they have this central C11 hydrophilic compound that binds to the guanines that they call the N2, the second nitrogen or the second carbon, which is bound to nitrogen. They form this covalent bond, as you can see in the, if I can get the, as you can see, it can be inter or intra-strand cross-link, always between the guanines. This is an example of the SJG136, the first PBD dimer to be used. It's a very nice fit. So it binds to the DNA minor groove and it binds perfectly. Some authors use the word snug. I had to Google it to find out what it is. It's a foreigner. I never heard this thing before, but it sounds like it fits very well. And the importance of this is that it causes minimal distortion of DNA helix. So that causes less attraction of DNA repair enzymes. So the cells get stuck at the G2 prophase and they undergo apoptosis because the DNA cannot repair that. Great drug, but we have to put that into the cells. So let's talk about the target, which is the main point of it. So the target is DLL3. Delta ligand 3 is one of the notch ligands, one of the 5 notch ligands. We have the JAG and DLLs. DLL3 is the shortest one. This is a transcriptional factor of ACL1. So if you're using RNA interference, at some point over 48 hours, there's a decrease in some of the transcriptional targets, including DLL3. It also is co-expressed with ACL1. Someone mentioned there's a variant, the classic small cell lung cancers. This is mostly with the classic ones. So increasing DLL3 is associated with increasing ACL1. There are 2 here, they're low, probably the variant, the NeuroD1 driven tumors. So DLL3 is usually retained in the Golgi apparatus. There's a retention mechanism. But if there is overexpression, it may overcome this retention and it may go to the surface. Why is that so important? No more important than me moving forward with this. So DLL3, unlike the other notch ligands, it does not cause transactivation like they usually cause. What it does is it causes cis inhibition. And inhibiting that is quite important. This is a very summarized description of the role of notch in small cell. This is a triple knockout mice, the same one as Anton Burns has described, but they also crelox RBL2, so it makes the tumor grows faster. The experiments finish early, which is very important. So if you transfect them with Notch1 or Notch2 intracellular domain, there is a complete shift in the transcriptome. So now with the Notch1 ICD, there is a decreased ACL1, the neuroendocrine markers. Then you have those transcriptional factors of Notch, Hess, and Hayes. They also decrease in the tumors and also slow growth. So Notch is very important. Depleting Notch causes the tumors to grow faster. This is the ugliest figure. This one I made myself. I ask for forgiveness. But this is a very simplified pathophysiology of small cell. So if you have Notch, there is a blockage of ACL1, and the cells undergo this non-neuroendocrine precursor in mature epithelial cells. Most people believe the squamous and adenoids will come from here. But if there is no Notch, there is increased ACL1, neuroendocrine precursors, pulmonary neuroendocrine cells. If there is a deletion RB153, they develop into small cells. Yes, there are some pathways where may come from other cells, but most of them should come from the PNEX. What about the L3 in this story? So one of the possibilities is that the ACL1 increase will affect the L3, increase it, it will go to the surface and cause cis inhibition of Notch. So it creates almost like a circuit here where Notch can inhibit directly ACL1 or inhibit through HAS1. ACL1 stimulates L3, which blocks Notch. That's very interesting. So what? So this is the LR expression in lung cancer. It's expressed not in normal lung but squamous, mostly not in Adams, but in most of the neuroendocrine tumors. What about those two boxes here? Those are adenocarcinomas with neuroendocrine differentiation. What about the small cells themselves, or neuroendocrine tumors? So this is the famous H-score, and 180 was considered the high expressors. So at least 2/3 of patients have high expression, and very few have low to no expression. So only 3 or 4 here. Great. What about the drug? So this is preclinical data. HEC self by themselves. You see there is the antibody by itself. This is IgG1 with the drug. This is the drug by itself, and this is the Rova-T. So in the HEC cells, just the drug by itself works. It's almost like SJG136. It works visibly well. But if you transfect the cells with the LL3, now you see the antibody working the best. This is the Rova-T in red. A little bit more preclinical data is like Nobel Prize of the mice. Giving Rova-T to mice with high expression cause cured is a very prolonged time to progression, and time to progression was related to the LL3 expression. So the target makes sense. You have a biomarker. Let's see what happens. And what happens is the phase 1 study. Oh my God, 3 more minutes only. Okay. So this is how the study was done. It's very complex. 2 pages on the manuscript explaining how the study was done. But this is a rapid dose escalation. The first dose required 3 patients, and then 1 patient per dose level until you have a grade 2 toxicity. The dose was escalated to 0.8 q3 weeks, which was associated with patients having grade 4 thrombocytopenia or liver enzyme abnormalities. So the dose was decreased. MTD was 0.4. But there was some delayed toxicity. Someone talked about looking at toxicities only on the cycle 1. So cycle 1 was great, but after the cycle 1, there were 3 out of 6 patients developing malignant effusions. So they had 2 expansion cohorts, 0.2 q3 weeks or 0.3 q6 weeks. And the 0.3 q6 weeks was chosen for additional development. And when they look at efficacy, it's 0.2 to 0.4 per kilogram. Oops. No. So this is the baseline characteristics. Since I cannot read very well from there anyway, neither can you. So resistant refractory about 40% of patients, and third line about half of the patients. So this is not your classic topotecan versus CV or oral versus IV topotecan. This is half of patients third line, and a lot of them were resistant or refractory. So waterfall plot, there's a lot of columns going down. The response rate clearly correlates with the LX3 expression. The values were much better, though few patients, 29. Response rate 35%, which is in line with other drugs. Disease control rate 90%, PFS 4.5 months. This is the overall survival. Again, much better for the LL3 positive patients. The LL3 negatives didn't do as well. And there are some adverse events. The most common are fatigue, effusions, edema, nausea, rash, decreased appetite. And grade 3, thrombocytopenia and pleural effusion. So I think that the most important is where do you go from here. Those are the ongoing studies. Now, Trinity is a third line and beyond for patients that have DLL3 positive. And DLL3 positivity is you have or don't have, but the high positives are being defined based on the study. And in the Trinity study, in the phase 1 study, they were defined as at least 50% of cells standing for DLL3, almost like the PD-L1. And the primary point of our response rate, we have Rova-T versus topotecan, and that'll be good to know the results. This is chemo followed by maintenance Rova-T. Is the checkmate 451 of the Rova-T. This is first line Rova-T alone or different combinations of chemotherapy. And you also have the second line Rova-T plus nivolumab. So we have the two most exciting drugs combined. Again, I know there are other drugs being mentioned here. So very briefly, the conclusions. Time is up. DLL3 seems to be involved in the pathophysiology of small cell lung cancer. It seems to be a rational target for ADCs. I mean, it's right there in between ACL1 and NARCH. Initial results are promising, and we need to know more about the further studies to find out this role. Is it good role as a maintenance? Is it good role as a first line? Is it better than topotecan or not? Time will tell. Thank you.